Another day has passed. Do you
Well, actually, it was the night before the hearing.
now that another day has passed, do you believe that it's now time potentially for the FBI to open an investigation into this?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Because you're the director of the FBI, you don't believe it's appropriate to comment on that?
Because there's a process in place, there's an ongoing litigation, and the National Security Council is reviewing this matter. And I'm not going to discuss any open or closed investigation.
That ongoing investigation, literally, the lawsuit happened today or yesterday afternoon, and the idea that you don't have an opinion on this at this point is frustrating to me.
No, it's not. I'm not going to prejudge any matters, and the men and women of the FBI will call the balls and strikes.
Reclaiming my time,
not
sir.
you.
Sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have...
Gentlewoman's recognized. You have
Thank
4
you.
seconds remaining.
No, I have more than
You have
that
2
because
seconds
Mr.
remaining.
Patel would not add...
Gentlewoman's time has expired. Mr. Stubbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, were there any sources...
Contact the defense secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a skiff?
There was no classified material that was shared in that
So then
signal
if there was no
check.
classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the question.
Yes, there is something actually going on. This is what Charlie Key put out. The real scandal of this would have been if we found these text messages or the signal messages and Trump team was working against him. Charlie Key just nailed it, and that is the truth. He argues there is a win in the signal chat mess of showing the American people that Trump crew has his back, unlike the snakes who stabbed him in the back during his first term. Instead of what you found was that every single one of these people, Vice President J.D. Vance, were actually defending President Trump's agenda in private the same way they have been doing in public. Just imagine if these people were saying things going contrary to Trump, how that could have turned out. But liberals will always pick up a story like this and go with it. It is everywhere. Someone said on MSNBC, oh, this person was even in Russia. We are sure Russia picked up that information. They are just spreading lies upon lies about these issues. It is important we take an exclusive look. I have a couple of clips to show you.
Fortunately, all of this good is happening for our country. This administration is working hard on behalf of the American public every day, but the mainstream media continues to be focused on a sensationalized story from the failing Atlantic magazine that is falling apart by the hour. Here are the facts. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this matter, and the National Security Council immediately said, alongside the White House counsel's office, that they are looking into how a reporter's number was inadvertently added to this messaging thread. We have said all along that no classified material was sent on this messaging thread. There were no locations, no sources, or methods revealed, and there were certainly no war plans discussed. The Atlantic has even admitted this themselves. Their release of these internal messages validates the truth, which we have been saying all along. If this story proves anything, it proves that Democrats and their propagandists in the mainstream media know how to fabricate, orchestrate, and disseminate a misinformation campaign quite well. And there's arguably no one in the media who loves manufacturing and pushing hoaxes more than Jeffrey Goldberg. Goldberg is an anti-Trump hater. He is a registered Democrat. Goldberg's wife is also a registered Democrat and a big Democrat donor who used to work under who? Hillary Clinton. This is the same Jeffrey Goldberg who infamously lied about weapons of mass destruction to get us into the Iraq War, which cost trillions of dollars and thousands of American soldiers. And how else has Goldberg discredited himself? By absurdly claiming that President Trump was Vladimir Putin during the 2016 campaign, by peddling the Russia hoax that tried to hijack President Trump's first term, by inventing the suckers and losers hoax to help Joe Biden in the 2020 election, by peddling a hoax about President Trump involving Gold Star families to help Kamala Harris in the 2024 election, which our campaign at the time vigorously denied. Jeffrey Goldberg didn't care. There's more, but we don't have all day, and we can now add this signal hoax to this very long list. The real story here is the overwhelming success of President Trump's decisive military action against Houthi terrorists.
Why aren't launch times on a mission strike classified?
Again, I would defer you to the Secretary of Defense's statement he put out this morning. There were various reasons he listed, things that were not included in that messaging thread that were not classified. And again, going back to the American public, do you trust the Secretary of Defense, who was nominated for this role, voted by the United States Senate into this role, who has served in combat, honorably served our nation in uniform? Or do you trust Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a registered Democrat and an anti-Trump sensationalist reporter? This president and this national security team are putting our national security and the American people first. We are restoring American strength around the world, and the results of this operation speak for themselves.
Putting aside Jeffrey Goldberg, though, just for American service members who are going to have to carry out these missions in the future, what I guess the message that's coming from the response to all this that we're hearing is that, nothing sensitive happened.
Yes, I just like the fact that she is calling these people out the way it should be, because at a certain point, they used to go away with this. Yes, and responding to the questions the way we wanted. When you take a look at what is going on with the mainstream media, they just want to hang around bad things. I want to see a segment where CNN, MMBC is doing, pointing out things Trump has done so far. They don't focus on that. They are going to run this segment. If you check now, they have done about maybe 50 to 100 videos concerning this. A single day, not even a single day. That is to tell you, they like this kind of narratives. It is crazy. But I question this. If you are a journalist, something like this happen, you know that this is a secret. You should not take these informations and publish. If you are publishing these informations, it therefore means you have a different agenda. This journalist in question, I've seen what he has done. He talks against Trump every single day. So seeing him continuing to publish this information clearly tells you his agenda. They have made a mistake, like to add you on the group. You've discovered it. Please sign out, contact, don't even go into publishing.
I don't know that they're comfortable with that. So can you explain, had these messages been published, would the plans have moved forward? Would the launch have still taken off?
What I can tell you is that the president, as the commander-in-chief of our United States Armed Forces, and Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is an incredible man and a warfighter himself, take the lives of our American service members with the utmost responsibility, and they would never do anything intentionally to put their lives at risk. And again, they are working hard on that every single day, and we are protecting our service members while also restoring peace throughout this globe. It's something the previous administration has not done. And I would just add one more point. We are not going to be lectured about national security and American troops by Democrats and the mainstream media who turned the other cheek when the Biden administration, because of their incompetence, left 13 service members dead in Afghanistan, and not a single person in the previous administration was held accountable for that botched withdrawal. Joe Biden said, in fact, it was a great operation. That is despicable. It's unacceptable to this president and this Secretary of Defense. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this inadvertent number being added to the messaging thread.
Yes, I give credit to Trump administration for doing this, acknowledging that this happened. If it was another person, they could have turned the story as it's a lie. Bring up some kind of stories. Like they acknowledge that this happened. This was a mistake, and no sensitive information was on that text. Along the way, for the mainstream media to even appreciate the administration for accepting that this was real, they don't do that. It is always to push certain narratives for political gains. I understand this is the best thing Democrats want to see. We still have a long time to go. And really watching the Trump administration where things like this should not be happening. Yeah. The best thing to me, if someone made a mistake and acknowledge it, yeah, we move on.
And one on a follow-up on something you just said, but since we have these messages released and you said that the president has now personally reviewed them. At the chat, at one point, Pete Hegseth wrote 1415 strike drones on target, and in all caps he said, "This is when the first bombs will definitely drop." Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay.
Philip.
And on my follow-up on what you had just said.
Go ahead, Philip. Caitlin, I'm not taking your follow-up.
I have a follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking
Goldberg.
your follow-up. Philip, go ahead. I have called on you.
What are you hearing, and what are we learning now?
Well, we have some more of the material that was being discussed on this chat. Pete Hegseth says no war plans, and let's show you what we have, and you can decide if this looks like a war plan. He texted the group at one point. At 2:10, more F-18s launch, second strike package. Then at 2:15, strike drones on target, all caps. This is when the first definitely drop, pending earlier trigger-based targets. It goes on to explain F-18 strikes, and then he says more to follow. He says they were currently clean on OPSEC. We know that the Pentagon has more detailed imaging and coordinates than that, and there is no imaging or satellite photos or coordinates or targets listed here specifically. And so it would seem that if you're going to fly F-18s and drones to take out Houthi guys, wherever it is that they're hiding out, the Pentagon has all of that information. So when they say there's no war plans, maybe they just mean that this text image did not include the full package of everything that they knew and everything that they could see and hear on the ground. But there is definitely some details, at least about timing, that is available. But the White House basically, or rather top national security officials basically dared The Atlantic to put this out. They sent Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe to the Hill yesterday to say there was nothing classified in here. Jeffrey Goldberg says that Caroline Leavitt emailed him last night suggesting that they did not want this material out there. But if it's not classified, it's not classified, and The Atlantic decided to go forward. So that's where we're at.
And so Peter, we don't.
Yes, I believe you heard that. The White House press secretary actually spoke with this guy, and he went ahead to publish the information. You know, I have seen him becoming a star in the Democrat Party, or he's moving from one mainstream media to another. On CNN, talk about this, talk about that, and they are still claiming like they are classified information. I saw another text message surfacing today, which I'm going to do a different segment so you can see exactly what is going on. Thank you guys for always been sharing on my videos. God bless you abundantly. If you see clips after this, that is just for the YouTube algorithm.
The fallout continues.
Group my job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the number?
I
mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name and then you have somebody else's number there?
Texas, Florida, Idaho.
Well, the two stars are Gal Gadot.
For fuel on the fire that there's a potential.
The economy added 16 points.
Your show's on YouTube.
It's a different mechanism. It's the same thing, though.
1980, so I
come after us, and that's the way it is.
George Clooney.